you guys. So today we're doing something a little different. I'm going to be making my buddy a computer. So we're going to go over how I'm going to do that. I have additional parts. I told him I'll pick up a few extra little parts here and there if the price is right. Should be good. So this is what I have. We're working with the Dell XPS 8500. This motherboard probably will cause us a lot of issues. It has already. Um, it's a motherboard, but I mean it should do the job for what we have to do. But yeah, so this motherboard came with the Intel Core i5-3450. It was released in May 2012, so that's gonna cause us some issues. That i5-3450 is gonna be a big limiting factor. I have a graphics card which should kind of get him on par to what we need to play certain games. I'm sure he's going to be playing like Rocket League and some of the older esports titles with us. So we're going to try that. Here we go. Third generation Ivy Bridge, 4 cores, 4 threads. It has a base clock of 3.1 gigahertz. Sorry about that. 3.5 gigahertz turbo boost. RAM. Now our RAM, I actually had 2 GB sticks. I had 4 2 GB sticks, so I have it in a 4x2, I believe they call that. Um, as far as our hard drive, I decided to pick them up a cheap 120 GB SSD, which was going to be where we store our operating system. I think I went with a Kingston 120 GB. That RAM is also Kingston. It's going to be set to 1333 megahertz. Um, this desktop would have came probably with a dedicated either 7570 or a GT 620, maybe a GT 640. Um, for us, these would basically just be HDMI. It's basically just adding an HDMI port. It would be very difficult to play games, especially more modern games, with those directly. There we go. All right, it came with the Windows 7 Home Premium. So what we did was we put Windows 11 on the system. We're actually thinking about what our processor is going to be. As far as RAM, like I said, 8 GB of DDR3, 1333 megahertz. We do have an additional 600 GB, I believe, Toshiba 7200 RPM drive we're going to be installing in there. And as for our graphics card, I thought it would be appropriate to give him the GTX 1650, 4 GB of VRAM. Like I said, it's just a card that I have lying around that I think he'd be able to take advantage of. This is going to be a system that it's kind of just the base, and then he could work toward putting together something a little nicer in the future. But this will get us playing, like I said, Rocket League and other esport titles pretty well. All right. So as far as our CPU, we have a few options. This is where things get a little weird. Well, so all right. So this is exactly. Let me kind of put this together. So what I had to do was we had a GTX 660. That's our graphics card we put in there initially. Problem is it's 2 GB of VRAM. It's not going to work out for modern titles very well. We're going to come into a lot of problems. So there was an A05 BIOS, which was probably one of the original versions of the BIOS for that motherboard. That had to be updated before we could actually use this 1650. So oddly enough, we were getting error codes after error codes. The A05 BIOS that it had on there was not accepting the UEFI graphics card. So what I had to do was update the UEFI, the BIOS to A14, which came out in 2018 of July. So that's what I did. We got BIOS version A14 for our Intel XPS 8500. And although these graphics cards, the Turing graphics cards, came out in 2019, I believe 2019. Some may have came out in later of 2018. I believe, what was it? The 2060 was August, August or September of 2019. So this was a few months after that update was put out. So that being said, I was kind of looking at the 1060 because it was also a UEFI card. So if the 1060 supported, I would think, or I would assume, never really know, that the 1650 would be supported. Luckily enough, the A14 added support for UEFI cards, so we were able to quickly boot on to the 1650, which is great. That that leaves that problem out of the way. So, but yeah, so let's get into CPUs, processors for this unit. Right now, like I said, it has an i5 3450. 3.1 gigahertz, 3.5 gigahertz. Right now, our limiting factor that we may be coming across is either the processor. I mean, definitely the processor, but also could be the drive. We're using that 7200 RPM drive for our operating system at the moment. So, like I said, I picked up a $12 Kingston 120 gigabyte. It's gonna definitely make it a little bit more peppy. For our CPU decision, we have a few ideas of what we could do. Like I said, we have the i5 3450. We can leave that in. It's 4 cores, 4 threads. We can go with the 3470. You're looking at a slight bump in speed. We have the 3550. Same thing, a little faster. We have the i5 3570. Now, I wanted to see with this one, because this actually could be a good option. The problem with going with the top available option, even nowadays, these chips kind of cost a bit of money, and I don't really have that much to put into his rig. Um, so yeah, I kind of want to just look at shopping like eBay wise. So you might be able to get 3570. I'm assuming for around $12. That's not too bad. This guy's got it for $8 pre-owned on eBay. You're gonna have to pay shipping, and some of them you pay shipping, some of them you don't. So this could be a pretty good deal. Like I said, that's kind of what we're looking at. We do get a little bit more speed. We would get a little bit more speed, but then we got our i7 3770. This is going to be, I believe, single core performance. It's actually less than your i5 3570, I'm pretty sure, but your multi-core performance is going to be where it's at. Um, Same thing, we're going to kind of go, so it's 4 cores, 8 threads, 3.4 gigahertz, 3.9 gigahertz. You're going to get, like I said, your multi-core performance is going to go up by quite a bit. You do have an integrated graphics, so we're not going to be using that. Let's go to shopping. I believe they're going for around 30 on eBay, 37 maybe. I don't really want to put too much into it because for the most part, I mean, eventually down the line, he's probably going to need somewhere between like an AM4 and AM5 if he really wanted something nice. Let's go over to eBay because I think these prices are a little off. There we go. So check on eBay real quick. I'm pretty sure they go for like $40, if that. Yeah. So you can get an i7 3770, which, like I said, quad core, um, 8 threads for about $32, $33 plus shipping fee. Well, the shipping here is free, so you get free shipping. You're just going to pay taxes probably. It's probably going to come out to about 40. So that being said, yeah, I'd still like to go with an 8 thread for what it is. So what I looked up instead of going there, you go. So we actually have an option. There was Xeon chips. I've noticed, for me at least, the Xeon chips tend to have issues with Dell boards. Maybe I'm wrong, but like I don't know why they just sometimes they don't have coding, the proper code for them. So some issues come along, but we'll talk about that a little bit. Here we go. So there are a lot of Xeon chips that we could use. These are the ones that they are recommending, and I think it's pretty good. So there's an E3 1240 V2, E3 1245 V2. So these are all 4-core, 8-thread. It's going to be extremely close in performance, but we're going to be able to get these chips quite a bit cheaper because they're Xeon. They usually, for some reason, they go a little cheaper than your standard i7s. Let's see what we got here. I have them on AliExpress. I'm probably, like I said, I'm going to try to stick with eBay. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so yeah, you're looking at like 17 bucks. Really not that bad. Yeah, so we can get one for 17 right here. Yeah, it's pretty good. Oh, it's scratched up a little. Should be fine as long as it's in working order. Shouldn't be a problem. Okay. All right. So, like I said, it's going to be a mix-up, a toss-up between. Um, it's really going to be a toss-up between the i5 3570, the E3 1240, or the 1245, depending on which one is better value. Um, and the i7 3770. So, like I said, you're looking at 40 bucks here. Let's get us over here. Here we go. So we actually have some people that have tested BIOS A14. Like I said, it came out July 2018. This is off of the Dell Technologies website. It looks like they tested it. Um, they had 1600 megahertz RAM. There we go. They were actually trying out the E3 1270 V2, which I think was probably the problem. Here they get a 4 beep error codes, indicates RAM error. Okay. All right. We get some of this. Here he actually talks about, so it actually says 2018 June 25. So, yeah. There we go. And here someone actually mentions that, let's see, where is it? The microcode. That's it here. So the microcode socket LGA 1155 are not compatible, so it's not supported. Now, oddly enough, someone actually found benchmarks of these chips, all of these chips, on, from what I understand, the same exact motherboard. This is the one I have. This is the motherboard I have, I believe, which is the O0YJPT1. They were able to get E3 1270 V2 working. So I don't really know if I want to go with the 1270. I'd probably go with the 1240 or like the 1245, and just hopefully it has support. If it doesn't, we're kind of out of luck. But we're going to try that. Like I said, there are benchmarks, which is just odd. It's just really odd that they're able to get them working. Somebody got them working, so that's what we're going to work off of. Like I said, Dell XPS 500. Let's see right here. Intel Xeon E3 1240 V2, and they got a pretty good benchmark for what it was. They were actually using the GT620, so like I said, it's probably what it came with. Initially came with a 1 terabyte drive. We even have somebody benchmarked the 1270 on here. Like I said, performs very good for what it was. And they're using a GTX 580, so whew, terrible. This is terrible benchmark. All right, so there we go. All right, so yeah, that's going to be us. We're kind of going to have to figure out. I think we're going to go with like an E3 1240 V2, although we could go 1245. I just think, like I said, there could be a microcode issue, and that's going to be where we're at with that. Um, But yeah, let me know what you guys think. That's going to be the upgrade kind of setup for my buddy. I'm hoping this all works out. Like I said, thanks again for watching, guys. If you guys want to see more of this, let me know. Please like and subscribe. I'm definitely hoping to have this one put out very soon. Thanks again, guys, for watching.